Hello, I'm Sam Perez with your recap of the top headlines this week. That includes updates on the trial of a mother accused of killing her young daughter, impacts of stricter immigration policies, and of course, everything you need to know about our weather this weekend. We're starting with a live look over downtown Knoxville. The sun seems to have disappeared again this weekend, and we could see some flooding. Meteorologist Tavian Whitehurst joins us now for a quick look at your forecast. Tavian, for everyone out on the roads this weekend, a heads up, they could become pretty slick.
Absolutely so, Sam. We're already looking at some rainfall passing through this morning. Now, some of that activity has continued to push north. Generally, people north of I-40 and I-81 are going to have the better opportunities of seeing that morning rainfall, but that's actually going to keep pushing north into Kentucky. So there may be a lull in activity as we reach kind of the mid-afternoon into your evening. Not entirely confident we're going to get very much sun. The cloud cover is going to be relatively persistent, but hey, if we catch a couple of rays, not a bad thing at all. We are starting the day with gusty winds, though. This morning already upwards of 40 miles per hour in the plateau and 50 plus as we look into the mountains, but the mountains already have a high wind warning in effect. Those gusty winds are going to continue to spread area wide as we get into the nighttime ahead of the stormy activity that we have coming overnight. It's the reason that we have a weather impact alert. Storms, heavy rain, and flooding going to be possible from all of that rain. And then with well saturated ground and even gusty winds that could snap tree branches and things of that nature, we may even see some trees go down because the roots may not be able to hold onto the soil. Now, good news is that severe risk has actually really pulled its way over towards the west, now excluding much of the valley and much of northeast Tennessee. So here's that rainfall activity that's going to keep moving off into the north. And you see that lull in activity that I was speaking of. It lasts until we see that stronger line pull its way in from the west, where we see that highest severe risk, and weakening and pulling east relatively quickly as we approach maybe 7, 8 a.m. So by the time we get to the show's beginning, a lot of that activity going to continue to move on out of the way. But as we look along the back end, there's a low opportunity for a couple of snowflakes, where in some higher elevations like the plateau, we could see some low accumulations on things like grassy surfaces. I'll break that down a little bit better into your 7-day forecast. But for now, Sam, I'll send it on back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Tavian.
Yeah.
An East Tennessee woman will spend decades in prison for killing her toddler daughter. After an 8-day trial, Sullivan County jurors decided Megan Boswell should face a life sentence with the possibility of parole. The same panel found her guilty of murdering her child, lying about it repeatedly, and abusing the corpse. 10 News reporter Lauren Levitt tracked the twists in this case.
Megan Boswell has been in jail 5 years, since she was 18 years old. That's when she was arrested in connection with the death of her 1-year-old daughter, Evelyn. During a sentencing hearing today, the defense worked to show jurors Boswell's dysfunctional home life played a crucial role in her actions while a young mother.
I've learned the importance of a mother's role, but not for Megan, I didn't.
Angela Boswell told jurors she and her former husband exposed Megan to drugs and violence from a young age. Eventually, Boswell was placed in foster care. Her foster mother testified Boswell's condition was the worst she'd seen.
Very malnourished. She's very skinny. Her hair was matted to her head with lice.
But during those 4 months Boswell lived with her, Gail Kite said she was turning her life around, working hard at school and taking good care of Evelyn.
She knew how to heat a bottle. She knew how to change the diapers.
Boswell faces at least 51 years in prison. The state argued she shouldn't ever get a chance at parole, while her attorney argued the jury could give her one last chance.
You're going to get a chance. Go back there and show her. You can tell her that she's redeemable. You can end it with grace and love.
The one person that Evelyn should have been able to rely on to protect her, to keep her safe, abandoned her, discarded her.
Judge Jim Goodwin will sentence Boswell for her 16 other crimes on May 22nd. You can read more about this case right now on our website. If you scan the QR code on your screen, it will take you to our latest article. A new law in Tennessee tightens immigration policies. That includes making it harder for people to get a state-issued ID, like a driver's permit, a license, or a photo ID. It requires people to prove they're U.S. citizens. The governor signed this law from the special session, but it doesn't go into effect until July 1st. But advocates with the Bridge Refugee Service say they've already heard of immigrants in Knoxville not being able to get a license.
With our clients, they're all here legally. They were invited by the U.S. government. So why aren't we accepting them and inviting them into the workforce to make this a stronger community in general?
He says the organization's goal is for refugees to be independent and able to give back to the communities they're in. We did reach out to the Department of Safety and Homeland Security about this. As of right now, we have not heard back. Knoxville city leaders say you will probably never drive across Gay Street Bridge again. Inspectors closed the bridge effective immediately back in June. Leaders now expect it to open early next year, but only for people on foot or bicycle. The only exception, emergency crews and CAT buses. 10 News reporter Lauren Davis shares what's in store for this historic bridge.
If you're looking to take a drive down the Gay Street Bridge one last time, you won't be able to. A TDOT inspection last year showed a compromised element, and now the bridge can't bear as much weight.
We do expect to be able to reopen it to pedestrians and cyclists, and after additional load-bearing evaluation and analysis, we also hope to be able to open it to emergency vehicles and the CAT bus.
The bridge was built in 1898. Mayor India Concannon says bridges made in that time period usually last 70 to 80 years, but this one is more than 120 years old.
The loads it was bearing in the first 60 years was maybe lighter than the loads it's been bearing in the last 50 years.
This is what more than 120 years of wear and tear look like. These are nuts from the Gay Street Bridge that show just how much damage was done. Mayor Concannon says when this bridge was built, it didn't have the redundancy of modern bridges, so when one part fails, the whole bridge could collapse. The design consultant firm for this project says repairs are just a temporary fix to give the city more time to plan out a replacement bridge.
Our intent for doing these repairs is to allow the city time to be able to go and get funding to replace the bridge. And so we're hoping that maybe that's somewhere in a 5 to 10 year window.
Mayor Concannon says she will bring this project as a budget amendment to the first city council meeting in March, so work can start right away. In Knoxville, I'm Lauren Davis.
The total repairs are close to $2 million. Again, the bridge could reopen to people on foot by early next year. Any long-term replacement plan is 5 to 10 years out.
Hi.
Neighbors came together to support a little girl recently diagnosed with leukemia. Medic Regional Blood Center held a blood drive Friday for 2-year-old Ellie Hoskins to financially support her family. We first brought you Ellie Hoskins' story back in January. At the time, her family was struggling to come up with the money for a water filtration system. They needed it as she undergoes treatments like blood transfusions. That's where Medic is stepping in. When you donate blood, you get a credit, which can go toward the Hoskins family. We spoke to that little girl's mother, who says she feels blessed that the community cares for Ellie in this way.
So for it to not be a fun experience, but people be willing to go and donate and have it be full the whole time is just crazy to me.
Megan told us that she and Ellie were at the drive to thank everyone who donated. If you'd like to help Ellie's family, we do have a link to a GoFundMe right now on our website. Meteorologist Tavian Whitehurst joins us now for a look at your full forecast. Tavian, the rain is supposed to start Saturday and then continue into Sunday, so a good time for people to grab their umbrellas and make sure they're prepared.
Most definitely. As we get your Saturday morning started, we're already, again, seeing some of that rainfall that's passing through much of the area. Then we get a pretty decent lull in activity in the afternoon and heading into the nighttime. But it's those overnight hours, so it will technically be Sunday morning when we have more of that activity that is going to slide on in along with the rest of that frontal boundary. So here's the thing about all of our severe risk. Really interesting development that I mentioned last time. They basically cut a nice little sliver out of the severe risk to the point that the Central Valley and Upper East Tennessee are no longer included in this level of marginal risk. It's basically just our plateau counties. When you look at all of the alerts that we have in effect, you're seeing, again, the flood watch that is in effect through all of Kentucky, Middle and West Tennessee, and even some of our plateau counties as well. We've got the wind advisory here in this light tan and the high wind warning for the mountains. Both of those going until noon on your Sunday. And then we're just littered with a series of flood warnings, flash flood warnings for all of the rainfall that's already been seen that has accumulated in rivers, creeks, and things of that nature, even some of those roads. So that's what you really have to be careful of, because that flood potential is likely the #1 thing that we are watching when it comes to that risk. Now, risk is greater as you work your way out into the west, including western Kentucky and even northwest Tennessee. That's that level 4 extreme risk, the highest possible when it comes to that that flooding. Here, though, in East Tennessee, we're primarily looking at that level 2 in the yellow. But the highest chances are still going to be sitting here in the northwestern plateau. Think Fentress, Scott, Campbell counties, and all of those locations that have the flood watches in effect. For your futurecast, what you're going to see is the warm front that is helping all of this activity rise. It's going to keep pushing north into Kentucky, and once we hit the mid to late afternoon, there's that lull in activity that I was telling you about. But you can already see how that frontal boundary and that line of storms is beginning to form here in the Memphis area, and they're getting slammed once we hit later tonight. But then we get our opportunity overnight. I'd say anywhere from around 2 a.m. for things to start to slide into the plateau, going till maybe about 7 or 8 for when we see that activity fully gone and exiting out of our area. Weakening as it goes, greatest risk over in toward the west, and then on the back end we could see a couple more showers, but also the opportunity for some snowfall. Now the snowfall is primarily going to be for higher elevations, think like the plateau, think areas in the mountains, and accumulations are expected to be light. We're gonna have a lot of moisture on the ground, and things will still be kind of on the warmer end. So in terms of roads and those kinds of accumulations, I'm not very confident in that sense. But when it comes to your grassy surfaces that are able to be a little bit cooler, that's where we could see the ground hold on to a slightly colder temperature and maybe some light accumulations. My models pretty much agree that this is definitely going to be under an inch as you get under those mountaintops. So under 3,000 feet, we get less than an inch. I'd say even closer to less than half an inch is what I am seeing, but it's definitely something that we will have an eye on. You see there on your 7-day forecast, though, we'll have another opportunity for some snowfall as we get later into the week and it gets a lot cooler, Sam.
Wow. Oh, crazy seeing snow. Yeah, sure is a lot going on. We'll be sure to keep you updated on air and online. But before we head out today, we want to wish one Newport woman the best of luck as she prepares for an audition to play one of East Tennessee's biggest legends.
Yes, Sasha Leffler is one of the 15 finalists to get the chance to audition in front of a casting director in New York City. It's for the chance to play Dolly in her upcoming Broadway musical.
Oh, she is the only finalist based here in Tennessee. Leffler said she hopes to represent Dolly's home state well. She heads to New York on Wednesday for her audition, and she said the next steps would be callbacks, and then if she moves on to that stage, she'll audition again later this week.
It's a lengthy process, but it moves quickly.
It really is, and you can see all of the finalists. There is a list. You can watch them on TikTok. I've been kind of seeing some of the finalists, and so definitely rooting for Miss Leffler, being that she's here from Tennessee.
Oh yeah, you gotta root for the hometown girl. I did watch her video, and I think she said she moved to Tennessee a couple years ago to work at Dollywood.
Yes.
So she's kind of familiar with how things go around here, and now she's at home with her husband and a couple of her kids. Which I mean, I really wanted to go. I really wanted to get it just because who best to know kind of what that East Tennessee life is like.
Exactly. Well, we are definitely wishing her luck, and again, we'll keep you updated on her journey. Well, thank you for watching this week's Top Headlines. You can catch us on 10 News every morning and evening. And while you're here on WBIR Plus, here's a look at what else is streaming. You can check out love stories through the ages with East Tennessee Love Stories and get a blast from the past with a thriller in Knoxville, a look at the Jacksons concert at Neyland. We have your local stories 24/7.